You put a light on your face, which looked good. Can you do that again? Yeah.
Good afternoon, Facebook. I'm Jen Phillips with jenphillipslv.com, and I want to share with you my friend Stephanie Mann. She has been sharing with us some of the things that she has done to help families across the country. And this is part 3 of our series of working with Miss Stephanie. And she's going to share with us today her second step of her process of empowerment parenting. And so, Stephanie, welcome for joining us today. And how are you?
Thank you. I'm great. I'm really good. I just gave permission to a foundation, children's foundation in Taiwan, to have empowerment parenting translated into Chinese.
Oh, how very cool is that?
Yeah, so I'm very excited about that because they have a lot of kids and there's a lot of pressure from China to have Taiwan become a communist nation. And my book is about the power of the human spirit. So they've been after me for a couple of months before I could get everything lined up to have me give them approval. So that's what I did. So I'm excited about it.
Oh, that's really cool. That's really cool. You know, here with what I do on this show that I do, I really am looking at how do I find women who are changing the world because they think that their voice matters. And what you have to share clearly does. And so really, really looking forward to learning from you today. So step 2, tell us about step 2.
Okay, step 2 is strength through pain. And one of the most important things you can do for your kids, because I don't care what age you are, there's always pain at some level for kids, adolescents, and for adults. So it's most important that you teach them how to handle pain so that the suffering that they will feel enlightens them rather than depresses them. So that's really important because everybody has pain in their life. And a lot of people don't think they should. A lot of parents try and protect their kids, overprotect their children so that they don't feel any pain. And then as they get older and the pain gets worse or harder to handle. So you've got to start at an early age because that's very important, really.
I would agree with that. I've got, you guys know I've got 4 kids, and my middle son just had his wisdom teeth pulled today. And I don't know if you've ever had your wisdom teeth pulled, but it's quite painful. The recuperation and everything else you go through, and that's if you heal well. Like if you don't do anything to create any other nightmares along with the healing process, right? And no, I don't want to see him in pain, but you're right. If we don't teach our kids how to manage that pain, they look for a way to escape it.
Exactly.
And I look at people all the time who are addicted to alcohol, addicted to cigarettes, addicted to drugs, all different kinds of things to escape the pain of whatever they're feeling here. Whereas if they learn to feel, learn to manage, and learn how to deal with this and this together, the head and the heart and the mind and the body, if they learn how to deal with that, yeah, life might hurt a little bit, but it's not unmanageable.
Exactly. A lot of children get bullied. And we shared a story about my son as a 6-year-old and being bullied at school and how to handle that. Well, it's very important to start at an early age so they understand that they can handle pain, emotional pain, not just physical pain, because pain is pain, but emotional pain is even more hurtful. Whether it's the bullies or whether it's the people accusing you of something you didn't do, and any of those issues that come up can really shake a child's confidence, self-confidence. And that is probably one of the most important things you can give kids is self-confidence, the ability to speak up. And I talk about this, about by giving an illustration of the maturity flip. Now the
Okay.
maturity flip, can you guess what that is, Jen?
I, I'm I guess I'm really not sure. I'm guessing maybe it could be where I'm pretending to be the 6-year-old or something, like and then they pretend to be the grown up or something. So like you take turns on who's that,
That's
you
role
know.
playing, which is
Okay.
really good. Role playing, and we have lots of exercises in the book to help parents know how to role play with kids. But the maturity flip is, let me put it this way:
Hmm.
when you're born and you have a baby, or you're the baby, you cry and you want attention, and you don't care anything about the adults around you. When your diaper's wet, you let them know that you want to be changed or you want to eat or something. So
Right.
the baby is very selfish. It's all about him or her. Now, as they become a little older, toddlers, we start teaching them how to share a toy, and we correct them if they grab a toy from another child in kindergarten. And then they learn from that experience. And then as they become into teenage years, that's when they're starting to become self-aware. And that's critical for kids to know that they have to have self-discipline in order not to snatch something from somebody else. They need to have the ability to be kind. That's what we as parents try to teach our children, how to be kind and share all of those good things as children. And then they slowly, as teenagers, are beginning to learn how to cope with life and how to share their emotions and how to handle their emotions. And not too long ago, I turned on Dr. Phil, and I think people have seen this. Maybe you've seen it because I've seen it quite a few times, and not the same one. Different men or women that are like 20 years old that are sitting on the parents' couch. They have no ambition. They have no strength within themselves. They don't feel good about themselves, and they express that. And, here are parents saying to Dr. Phil, what do I do to get him out of the house? And that you do not want. You want your kids to be able to have the self-confidence, after they get out of school, from high school, and to finish high school. And then if they go on to college. Well, I had the same experience with my son. My son, he graduated from the University of California, and he came home and he sat on the couch. And I said, okay, what's your plan? And he said, well, I haven't quite figured it out yet. So, well, give it some thought. So we gave him a choice. We said, now we lived in the Bay Area in California, and we said, why don't you either decide to go to Seattle, Washington, or go down to Los Angeles and figure out your own life. You have to be on your own. It's time to grow up. You're 22 years old, right? And he said, oh, he had an old beat up car, and we gave him $500. And believe me, when we said goodbye to him, I was crying. I thought, oh, are we doing the right thing? And I must tell you, he said that was the toughest year he ever had, but he said it was the best year he ever had because he found himself. That's what we have to do with our children. We have to help them find themselves and be brave enough to say, here are some choices. What are you going to do? What's your choice? And give them some ideas. And he wound up at the YMCA. He played water polo for University of California. So he was teaching water polo at the University of Washington. He joined that, and would you believe, within that year, he found his girlfriend, and that's been his lifelong partner.
Oh, how very cool.
They got married too. So, and he's a full-time teacher and a water polo coach at a high school, and he started a huge foundation for young people. So, you know, as parents, that's how you launch your kids. It's sad to say goodbye to them, but you have to do it.
I would completely agree with that. My oldest son moved out. Actually, I invited him to leave on his 18th birthday because he didn't want to follow the rules. And
Oh,
when he graduated high school 6, 8 months later, I told him he wasn't invited to come move with us. And it was hard. It was
it
very
is
hard.
hard.
And he took over the rent of the apartment that we were living in. But this past year, he moved in the middle of COVID. He decided that he was going to move to North Dakota. And on Labor Day, he flew to North Dakota, and he is still in North Dakota, and he's hating life right now. His partner buddy that he went with, his best buddy, ended up coming back to California and kind of ditched him. But he's working it out. He's figuring it out. And as much as he's hating life, he's gotten himself out of his debts that he was in. He's working 2 jobs. He's making it work, and he's learning a ton. And
That's the name of the game. You've got to let go of your kids and you've got to help them launch themselves, because it's pretty easy to let them sit on the couch and, you know, or keep their old bedroom. And you don't need that. They got to grow up. They've got to find themselves. So that's good. And, you know, if you don't do that, or you don't give them the tools they need to grow up as it goes along, um, I got some statistics here. And today, we all know that there's a drug abuse problem. It's huge. There are about 4,300 deaths of young people a year. And that has gone up considerably since COVID has taken hold. And this was before COVID, but the cost to the taxpayer, not only is it painful for us to see our children suffer, but the cost to all of us is $24 billion a year. So it's critical that you give your kids a launching, but you got to give them the tools so they don't turn to drugs the minute you let them out the door. And this is a gradual process. This is not a process that all of a sudden, when they're 18, you say out. It's over a period of time that you've got to help them figure out their own lives and let them make their mistakes. And that's painful too. And pay the consequences for their mistake. Don't go in and save them. We can't save our kids. They have to learn how to save themselves, or they're going to come back and say, save me. No, you got to let go.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's a really hard thing to do, especially today. And I think in this world of Facebook, we're on Facebook right now live, but our one part of our life is the way we want people to view us is what we let people see. And there's a lot of judgment out there from other people. Oh, you did what to your kid? Yes. At 18 years old, I told my son, because he wanted to vape and smoke weed at 18 years old. Yes, I told him he was welcome to not live with me. Yes, I did. So I don't have a lot of sympathy for somebody who has a child that is an addiction that they're enabling. I don't have a lot of sympathy for that.
Agreed.
I told my kid in high school he could leave. Like,
absolutely.
And he had a job when I told him that. And did I kick him out? No. But when we moved out after graduation, he didn't come with me. And it's funny because I had a friend who his 28-year-old daughter in and out of not rehab, but addiction, and knew how she could get her heroin if she gave her body, knew she'd have to pay for alcohol, knew she'd have to pay for cigarettes, knew she'd have to pay for weed, but she didn't have to pay for heroin. So as long as she lived in his house, he could keep an eye on her. And I'm like, and what's that doing for you?
Yeah.
You're a recovering addict too. And so you're having all this stuff around your home, which isn't good for you either. And you're both going to end up down the tubes. That's your choice. I can't live to watch it.
That's exactly why I wrote Empowerment Parenting, because a lot of parents don't know how to create that self-confidence within kids so that they are able to gradually figure their lives out and have that stability within themselves and the self-confidence to say I can leave. I might mention that I was abandoned at age 15 in Mexico City, and I didn't speak the language. And I'd come out of a private school as a freshman in high school. So I had to grow up on my own very quickly. But fortunately, I had had a good foundation of my parents. I'd gone to, schools. I had been independent. So I was able to survive. And not only that, stand up for myself. So it was the hardest year of my life was age 15. But I was a survivor. So I don't want to think, I hear some people say, even Dr. Phil, that children aren't really mature until they're 24 years old. And I'm going, what? I mean, I'm sorry, but I totally disagree with that. If you give them the foundation as they go along, they are perfectly capable at age 15, 16, 17. And a lot of kids are very successful at doing things in school and being a leader. And if they're shy, you're going to have to work with them and get them involved in other things so that they can manage their lives. So parenting is not an easy job. It's a tough one. And it takes vigilance on the part of one parent, two parents, whatever you have in your family, but they also need that network of support around them because children need to have, and it's wonderful if they have a grandmother, uncle, family, but make sure that they are healthy people too, as you mentioned. If they're not healthy people, it'll send the wrong message to your kids. So it's a hard job. You've got to stay on top of it, and you've got to also help your kids stay on top of it for their own sake.
Yeah, yeah, true. Very true. Very true. Well, I look forward to learning more about the next steps. I'm really interested in some of the things that I have going through my head. And as we learn about different things together, I really am looking forward to seeing what step 3 is. What homework do you have? We did some homework last time. What homework would you have for families?
Oh, yeah, good question. As a matter of fact, I have in the book an exercise which is pretty easy to do. Well, I have a lot of exercises in here, but evaluate the maturity of your own child. Like, how did you handle your last conflict with a friend? Ask questions. Ask them how they handled it. What did you learn about your friend? What did you learn about yourself? If someone mistreats you, what did you do? How did you handle that situation? Start a conversation with your kids. A lot of people, and I've seen this with friends and so forth, they'll say, well, how was school today? Oh, fine. And that's the end of the conversation. Take at least 20 minutes a day to sit down and just make that child, if you have 5 kids, one child, make that child the center of your attention for at least 15 minutes a day. And ask good questions, and don't give them the answers, just give them some wisdom. All parents have wisdom, they have experience. Share your stories with your child. So that's what I would suggest, is sharing information with your child, and ask lots of good questions, and listen to their feedback. Don't try and change anything, just listen.
Very cool. Very cool. I think that's a great way for us to end this Valentine's Day week, right?
Yeah.
And help us to connect with our kids and to help us to grow. So, Miss Stephanie Mann, thank you for joining us again. And we will see you next Friday. And for the rest of you, go to Jen Phillips LV's page on Facebook to check out the other times that we've spoken with Miss Stephanie. You will also find a link to her book and find out where you can purchase that. And we look.
No, Jen, let me just mention that I talked my publisher into reducing the price.
Ooh.
So it's now $13.95, and the ebook is only $3.99.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's a cup of coffee at Starbucks. So get material that can save your child's life. It's not that expensive.
That's very cool. That is very, very
Oh,
cool.
and our website is safe, SAFE, kidsnow.com.
Very cool. And we will put that in our on the page underneath this also tonight. And you guys have a wonderful Friday afternoon. Tomorrow, I'll be interviewing Miss Suzanne Hobbs. She is a tremendous woman who has, if you've heard about the legislation that's been put into place about if you have a baby and you don't know what to do and you don't want to abandon it and you can take it to a hospital or a police station or fire station without any penalty. I am friends with the woman who championed that legislation, Suzanne Hobbs. She is going to be our next speaker tomorrow at noon, and I look forward to sharing her message. And the rest of you have a wonderful weekend. And Stephanie, we will see you next Friday.
I'll be here. Thank you.
Have a great night.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.